Hello and a very warm welcome. I am Gurteen Garland and you're watching Firstpost. In the next few minutes, we bring you the top 50 updates from around the world, only here on Fast and Factual. Let's get started. Our top focus comes in from West Asia. Iran-backed Hezbollah group became a target of massive pager blasts across Lebanon. Hundreds of pagers used by the group exploded yesterday. At least 9 people were killed and around 2,800 sustained injuries. The Iran-backed group blamed Israel for the attack and vowed retaliation. The blasts in Lebanon came hours after Israel vowed to expand its war goals near the Lebanon border. Meanwhile, the Pentagon has clarified that the US did not have any involvement in the explosions in the Lebanon. Additionally, the White House has said that the US believes the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah requires a diplomatic solution. It also emphasized the need for a ceasefire. Major air carriers Lufthansa and Air France have suspended flights to Tel Aviv, Tehran and Beirut till Thursday. This comes after explosion in pagers across Lebanon. German Airlines Lufthansa said it was suspending flights to Tel Aviv and Iran's capital, Tehran, while French group Air France suspended flights to Tel Aviv and Lebanese capital, Beirut. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met Egyptian President Abdel Fattah Al-Sisi in Cairo. Blinken is holding negotiations with the Egyptian officials over ceasefire in Gaza. He will also hold a press conference with Egypt's foreign minister. This marks Blinken's 10th trip to West Asia since October 7th attack. The US President Joe Biden has asked the warring forces in Sudan to re-engage in peace talks. He also appealed for a humanitarian access to the region. Biden has asked both Sudanese armed forces and the Rapid Support Forces to pull back their troops and end the war. According to the US, about 150,000 people have lost their lives in the war that began in April last year. US former President and Republican candidate Donald Trump has said he will meet Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi next week during his trip to America. Trump also called Modi a fantastic man during a campaign event in the state of Michigan. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be on a 2-day US visit starting from September 21. He will be attending the Quad Leaders Summit in Delaware. PM Modi will also interact with CEOs of leading US-based companies. He will also address the Summit of the Future at the United Nations General Assembly in New York. Voting for the first phase of Jammu and Kashmir Assembly polls is currently underway. Citizens are casting their vote in 24 out of 90 constituencies. This is the first election in the erstwhile state in the last 10 years. The citizens are voting for the first time since the abrogation of the Article 370. It provided special status to Jammu and Kashmir. India's Directorate General of Civil Aviation has reportedly launched a probe into an incident involving an Indigo aircraft. The Bengaluru-bound aircraft suffered damages while taking off from Delhi airport on September 9. The tail section of the aircraft struck the runway during its takeoff. Since then, the plane crew has reportedly been de-rostered and the aircraft has also been grounded. North Korea fired several short-range ballistic missiles towards its east coast. This is the second such launch by Pyongyang in a week. The country later described it as a test of a new 600 mm multiple launch rocket system. Meanwhile, Japan criticized the launches and said the missiles had landed outside its territory and the exclusive economic zone. The launch comes days after North Korea unveiled a uranium enrichment facility and vowed to boost its nuclear arsenal. Venezuela has arrested 4th American over an alleged plot to kill President Nicolas Maduro. Before this, the South American country held 3 Americans, 2 Spaniards and a Czech national. Venezuela accused the 7 arrested people of having connections with US and Spanish intelligence agencies as well as the Venezuelan opposition. West African nation of Mali was hit by a deadly terror attack yesterday. The attackers took temporary control of the international airport and military training school in capital Bamako. An Al-Qaeda-linked jihadis group claimed responsibility for the attack. Officials said several Mali military personnel were killed in the attack, but the attackers were neutralized. Canadian PM Justin Trudeau's Liberal Party lost a parliamentary seat in Montreal yesterday by a thin margin. This marks the second defeat for Trudeau's party after a Conservative Party candidate won a June by-election in Toronto. Monday's poll in a Montreal district was won by opposition candidate Louis-Philippe Sauvé. She received 28% of the votes, while Liberal Party candidate Laura Palestini received 27.2% of the votes. Moving to some climate updates now, the water levels of rivers in the Amazon basin are at a historic low. The region is facing its worst drought on record. In some cases, the riverbeds have even dried up. Some of the major affected rivers include the Solimões in Tabatinga and Downriver in Tefi. 2 consecutive years of severe drought have parched much of the vegetation in Brazil. Last year, the region witnessed its hottest year in 2023. Brazilian President Lula da Silva held a cabinet meeting to discuss ways to control the raging wildfires in the country. After the meet, Lula said several states did not have the necessary resources to fight the forest fires. The Brazilian government has announced allocation of around $94 million for combating the fires. In the recent weeks, Brazil has been reeling under raging fires that has doused agricultural fields and degraded air quality. Wildfires continue to rage in central and northern Portugal. The blaze left drivers stranded on Portuguese highways for hours. Portugal is battling over 50 active wildfires currently. The country is now seeking help from the European Union to battle the fires. From Europe to South America, the Peruvian government has deployed helicopters to douse wildfires burning across the country. These fires have killed at least 15 people so far and injured about 100 others. The Amazon rainforest in Peru has been hit the hardest by the wildfires. Peru currently has 32 fires, out of which 9 are in Amazon. A storm ravaged parts of the U.S. state of North Carolina, leaving the streets flooded. A state of emergency has been imposed in the areas affected. The residents said the storm was a quote-unquote once-in-a-century event. A coastal flood advisory continues to remain in place. Flood struck northern Hungary overnight, submerging an entire village along the Slovak border. The residents resorted to using boats to navigate the flooded streets. Meanwhile, in neighboring Budapest, authorities have put mobile dams to limit flooding from the Danube River. According to the UN, Typhoon Yagi led deadly floods affected nearly 6 million children in the Southeast Asia. The extreme weather conditions comprised access to clean water, food, and shelter for children. Additionally, the typhoon also comprised their access to education and healthcare. Typhoon Yagi swept through Vietnam, Thailand, Laos, Myanmar earlier this month and killed over 530 people in total. On to business and tech news now. The U.S. Federal Reserve is set to announce its monetary policy decision today. Analysts believe the U.S. Central Bank will announce its first interest rate cut in 4 years. For over a year, the key U.S. interest rate has been kept in the range of 5.25 to 5.5%. It was raised through a series of hikes after the pandemic to tame sky-high inflation. Since then, inflation in the country has declined and the economy has cooled down. The U.S. Committee of Foreign Investment has reportedly delayed approval of the Nippon and U.S. Steel merger. The committee reviews national security risk of foreign companies investing in the U.S. Reports say Nippon and U.S. Steel have asked the body to refile details of the deal. The move will postpone the deal approval until after the U.S. election. Nippon's $15 billion takeover of U.S. Steel has faced backlash from U.S. lawmakers over job loss concerns. Indian miner Hindustan Zinc plans to spend $2.5 billion to expand its production. In an interview, the firm's CEO said they aim to double their annual output to 2 million tons. The 58-year-old mining firm Hindustan Zinc operates 6 mines in India, extracting zinc, lead, silver, and cadmium. Earlier, it was reported that the firm had hired 2 Australian mining companies to help expand its output. Boeing will start talks with its largest workers' union today. The negotiations will be held in presence of federal government mediators. The plane maker's 30,000 US workers have been on strike since last week over a new wage contract. The workers rejected a 25% pay hike offered by the firm. The US factory workers' car maker Stellantis plans to vote on a proposed strike. This is according to United Auto Workers Union President Sean Colmes. Colmes has accused Stellantis of failing to keep its promise it made last year. The firm had agreed with the workers' union to expand production in the US, which would generate more jobs. Tupperware Brands, the US company that makes the iconic food storage containers, has filed for bankruptcy. The firm says it will seek court approval to continue operating while its liabilities are settled. The company reportedly has over $700 million in debt. Last year, Tupperware Brands said that it might have to shut down the business amid declining sales in recent years. Tupperware Brands was founded by US chemist Earl Tupper in 1946. American satellite firm Intuitive Machines have secured a $4.8 billion contract from NASA. The company will deploy satellite constellations to provide communications and navigation services to the US Space Agency. These services will support NASA's Artemis mission, which aims to send humans to the moon. NASA's contract with Intuitive Machines is for 5 years. A European Union court has sided with Google over a $1.66 billion fine imposed on the tech giant. The fine was imposed by the European Commission in 2019. It had alleged anti-competitive practices by the tech giant in the online advertising sector. Europe's second highest court in Luxembourg accepted the Commission's assessments. However, it said that the fine did not take into account all the relevant circumstances. Tech giant Microsoft says it plans to launch a $30 billion fund with American investment firm BlackRock. The fund will be used to build infrastructure for the artificial intelligence, such as data centers and energy plants. Data centers help train AI models, but they require significantly higher energy consumption for large-scale data processing. Social media giant Meta has rolled out a new feature on Instagram called Teen Accounts. It aims to give parents more control over the accounts of children under 16. Teen Accounts allow parents to set daily usage limits on their child's account. They can also restrict which content categories minors sees and monitor direct messages on the platform. Meta says the feature will apply to both new teen users and existing accounts. Moving to sports, we start with cricket. The International Cricket Council, or the ICC, has announced a record $7.9 million prize for the upcoming Women's T20 World Cup. The winning team will take away $2.34 million, which is more than double of last edition's prize money. The World Cup will take place from the 3rd of October to the 20th. Themba Bavuma has been ruled out of South Africa's first one-day international match against Afghanistan. Reports say that the ODI skipper is suffering from illness. Aiden Markham, who has captained the Proteas in the T20 format, will be leading the squad in the first match against Afghans. South Africa and Afghanistan play a 3-match ODI series in UAE, which starts today. Now moving to football, Bayern Munich decimated Dinamo Zagreb 9-2 in a Champions League match. The one-sided game saw Bayern netting 3 goals just in the first half. The star of the match was striker Harry Kane, who scored 4 times. He took his tally to 33 goals in the competition to break Wayne Rooney's record for the most number of goals scored by an English player in Champions League. Cristiano Ronaldo's club Al Nassr have fired the coach Luis Castro. The 63-year-old was appointed in July 2023. Last season, Al Nassr finished second, 14 points behind their rival Al Hilal. Castro has failed to make an impact despite having stars like Ronaldo and Sadio Mane. Reports say former AC Milan boss Stefano Poli could be Al Nassr's new coach. Manchester City midfielder Rodri warns that top players are on the verge of going on a strike. Rodri said that they are angry over a packed football roster. The Spanish international has played as many as 63 games for the club and country last season. The season's calendar includes even more matches because of the expanded Champions League and Club World Cup fixtures. In tennis, Roger Federer voiced hope that Rafael Nadal will return for another season. Nadal pulled out of the 2024 Laver Cup due to fitness concerns, where he was set to join the team in Europe. This year's Laver Cup, co-organized by Federer, is being hosted in Berlin for the first time. Nadal has had a rough summer, missing out on key events like the Olympics and the French Open. Federer said that Nadal needs time to heal, rethink his goals and plan his next steps. Red Bull racer Sergio Perez's father, Antonio Perez Garibay, collapsed at his home in Mexico. The 65-year-old will be under close medical supervision for a few days. Antonio linked his collapse to the shock of the crash at the Azerbaijan GP last week. Sergio Perez has crashed into the wall after colliding with Ferrari's Carlos Sainz while vying for third place in Baku. In hockey, India beat China 1-0 to retain their Asian Champions Trophy title. Jugraj Singh scored the winner for India in the 51st minute. This is India's fifth Asian Champions Trophy title. Scotland is set to host the 2026 Commonwealth Games. This after Australia's Victoria State backed out from organising the event, citing rising costs. Now it will be held in Scottish city of Glasgow, which hosted it back in 2014. However, the multi-sport event will be scaled down, with some disciplines removed to reduce costs. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer hosted a reception at 10 Downing Street to honour Olympians and Paralympians. Starmer thanked the athletes for delivering a memorable Olympics and Paralympics performance. British competitors won a total of 189 medals, from which 65 were won at the Olympics and 124 at the Paralympics. Starmer praised their achievements and stressed on their role of sports in breaking down barriers and promoting health and fitness. Moving to the world of showbiz now, American rapper Sean Colmes has pleaded not guilty to 3 criminal charges that prosecutors brought on him. The charges are of racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Colmes was arrested earlier this week in New York. His bail plea has also been denied. If convicted, the rapper could spend 15 years in prison. Miley Cyrus's first ever Grammy Award-winning song Flowers has landed in legal trouble. She has been sued over allegedly copying elements from Bruno Mars's song When I Was Your Man. The lawsuit has been filed by the investment firm which owns a portion of the song's copyrights. None of the two singers have commented on this yet. After pop star Taylor Swift, singer Billie Eilish has endorsed Kamala Harris for president. The singer urged followers to vote for Harris in the upcoming US presidential election. Billie Eilish stated Kamala is fighting to protect reproductive rights, the planet, and democracy. South Korean singer J-Hope is almost done with mandatory military service. He took to social media and posted that only 30 more days are left before his discharge. J-Hope wrote that the time flew by and he grew fond of everything around him. Singer Charlie Puth will get all the attention now that he needs in life right now. He tied the knot with his girlfriend Brooke Sanson in California. The singer took to social media and shared adorable pictures from the ceremony. They started dating in 2022. Rapper Cardi B says to avoid postpartum depression, she does cardio exercise. She revealed she doesn't engage in heavy lifting and muscle training. Cardi B announced the arrival of her third baby on September 12. The rapper said her postpartum is different during this time. Singer Nicki Minaj announced that she will release a new album titled Pink Friday 3. This comes after the singer cancelled her Pink Friday 2 Deluxe Edition album. She will announce the release date within the next couple of weeks. A new live-action feature film titled Matchbox is under development. The film will feature WWE star John Cena in the lead role. The movie is inspired by Mattel's iconic real-world die-cast toy vehicle line. The release date is under the wraps. The makers of Mickey 17 have released its trailer. The video shows Robert Pattinson dying and coming back to life at least 17 times. He plays the role of a space colonist whose new body is generated every time he dies. The new body comes with all his memories intact. The film will hit theaters on 31st of January next year. And finally, live simulation gaming series The Sims will soon turn into a film. Amazon is looking to develop the film, while sex education writer Kate Herron will direct and co-write. Barbie star Margot Robbie's film Lucky Chap will produce the film. Other details about the film are under the wraps. That's all for today. Thank you for joining us. I am Gushin Galan and we'll see you right back here tomorrow. Stay informed and stay tuned to First.